Meantime, we've seen a preliminary thawing in the relationship with China this week after Defence Minister Miles met his Chinese counterpart in Singapore. The government hopes the success of the talks, 2 years after the last contact at ministerial level, will continue. But yesterday, the Prime Minister warned that the ball was in China's court to begin easing trade sanctions. Australia's new Trade Minister is Don Farrell. He's in Geneva for the WTO meetings. He joins me live now from Geneva. Minister Farrell, thank you very much for your time. You had hoped to meet with your Chinese counterpart. That hasn't eventuated. What went on there?
Oh, look, I think it was a case of clashing diaries, Kieran. Before I left Australia, I issued an invitation to Minister Wang to meet while we were here for the World Trade Organisation meeting. We got a message back from the Chinese that it wasn't going to be possible to do it at this stage, and Minister Wang left the meeting early. I'm obviously still here. We're still doing the negotiations to try and get some freeing up of world trade rules. So we were happy to meet with him, but the invitation is still there. I'd like to meet with him. Obviously, there has, as you just said, been some thawing of the relationship. It was very good to see the Deputy Prime Minister meeting with his equivalent, and I'm hoping that these are signs that we can make some progress with the issues that we have with China at the moment.
Are you quietly confident that, one, you will get those talks eventually, and two, that some of those coercive trade sanctions might be removed or at the very least eased?
Kieran, look, I'm always an optimist in these sorts of things. We've certainly issued the invitation. The invitation still stands. We'd like to meet with the Chinese. We'd like to have an opportunity to talk to them face to face about some of these issues, which we believe need to be fixed. As the Prime Minister said yesterday, the ball's in China's court now. We've put out the olive branch. We've said, look, we'd like to meet with you. We'd like to discuss these issues. We have a huge trade with China. It's getting up towards $300 billion a year. But we have some sticking points in that relationship. In my home state, the issue of wine sales to China is a very important issue, and we need to sort these issues out. The only way we're going to do it is by face-to-face discussions. As I've said, I've issued the invitation, and we'll be happy to meet with the Chinese at any stage.
I'll get to a few of your other talks there in Geneva in a moment, but just to wrap up on the China front, you alluded to it there. It's a massive market for Australia, and despite the difficulties of recent years, Minister Farrell, you've got a trade relationship that's grown in spite of those barnacles.
Yes, you're right there, Kieran. Just over the last 2 years, trade with China has increased quite dramatically. I think it's getting up towards a 20% growth. Now, there's a couple of factors at play there. The way China seems to deal with Australia is that if we have a product which they can't easily get access to from other sources, then they continue to buy our goods and services. And of course, we've seen that with particularly iron ore prices going up so significantly and increasing in volume with our trade with China. On the other hand, products like wine, like barley, like meat, dairy products, if they can get other sources of those products, then they've slapped very high taxes on our products that make our products unviable to be sold in China. So we think that the relationship needs to be improved. We want to get that trade back, particularly for all of our farmers and wine growers in Australia, and we'll be working to do that.
There has been progress on the free trade front in recent months. The former government, to its credit, did secure a deal with India, with the UK. Those two countries have ratified those free trade agreements. We haven't yet. Would you like to see us expedite the ratification of those two agreements to get them up and going?
Kieran, in the last 2 days, I've met with both India and the United Kingdom. I'm not sure what you say is correct certainly about the United Kingdom. They still haven't ratified that agreement, but are in the process of doing so. What happens in the Australian setting is that we once the election is called, then everything stops and we have to restart the process. Like so many things that the previous government did, they didn't act quickly enough. And so it's now left to the Albanese government to do the things that the previous government should have done to implement these free trade agreements. One of the things that we now know from the China experience is that we can't afford to put all of our eggs in the one basket. We need to have a range of free trade agreements to ensure that we can sell our goods and services around the world. When we go back to Parliament at the end of July, it'll be my priority to get these two free trade agreements through the Parliament. I've told both the Indians and the English that I believe we can get both of those agreements up and running by the end of the year, and that'll certainly be my aim.
And with those markets, and then you add to that Indonesia, we saw the keenness of the Prime Minister and your government to get to Jakarta straight off the bat after the election. So Indonesia, India, UK, is this the sort of diversification you're talking about and the need for our trade not to be just putting all our eggs in to one basket, i.e. going to China?
Look, that's exactly right, Kieran. China's obviously a huge market, but when you add together all of the countries of Asia, add to that India and Pakistan, you've got an even larger market. And I think this government, the previous government, just wasn't alive to the opportunities that we've got in Asia and the subcontinent. And one of the things I think Anthony Albanese brings to the Prime Ministership is a deeper understanding that there are lots of other opportunities out there. And as you say, in our first visit as a group of ministers was to Indonesia. I've established quite a good relationship with Minister Lufti, the Trade Minister in Indonesia. In fact, I've given him an invitation to come to Australia, which he's given me every indication he wants to do. Indonesia has a population of 270 million people. Their living standards are rising. We need to take advantage of that to build our trade relationship. It makes sense from a strategic point of view, but also from the point of view of building a good, strong economic relationship with that country. But we're not going to leave it there. I've met over the last couple of days with a whole range of our potential trading partners in Asia. I met with the Singaporeans, the Koreans. There's lots of opportunities there, and we just need to take advantage of that.
Another one is the European Union. I wonder, does the revised approach on climate change under this government assist in getting that sort of agreement across the line with the Europeans? Because no doubt demands would be in place on the climate front as part of any free trade deal with a bloc like that.
Look, you're dead right there, Kieran. There was almost a audible sigh of relief yesterday when I met a delegation of European parliamentarians that there's been a change of government and we have a far more progressive attitude to the issues of climate change. That'll keep us in very good stead in these negotiations. As you know, like so many other aspects of the previous government's actions, they managed to get themselves into difficulty with the French. I'm meeting with the French Trade Minister today. I'm hoping that will lead to a very early resumption of the negotiations with Europe about a free trade agreement. I got the very clear impression now that we'd resolved some of these issues around climate change, that was going to make it a damn sight easier to get an agreement. We discussed timeframes, and I hope I'm not too optimistic here, but I'd like to think that we can get a free trade agreement with the European Union by the end of the year. They're sending a delegation to Australia in a few weeks' time, and I'm hoping to again meet with them. And again, that's a very good sign that relationships are being repaired, not just in Asia, but right around the world with this new government. And we certainly want to use the opportunities of that change to build on our trade relationship with these countries. We're a great free trading nation. We've had a few tough years with the pandemic and, of course, the issues in the Ukraine. I was very proud to be involved in a solidarity rally with all of the other European nations and other countries around the world to express our support for the people of Ukraine. So there's plenty of problems there, Kieran, but there's also plenty of opportunities. And as we come out of this pandemic, now's the time to take advantage of them.
Trade Minister Don Farrell joining me live from Geneva at the WTO talks. Thank you, appreciate it.